Guys, welcome back to African Village Lens. If you're new here, please subscribe. I do analysis on the village life content scene, and if you're not new here and you've not subscribed, please subscribe to my channel because I drop content every single day and it's amazing content. You don't want to miss out, so just click that subscribe button and turn off the post notifications so that whenever I drop a new video, you're gonna be the first to see. And today I want to be talking about how hard work, consistency, and star power just turned one woman into a global YouTube favorite. If you don't know who I'm talking about, I'm just gonna let the cat out of the bag, and I'm gonna be talking about Clarice. Yeah, we all know Clarice. If you don't know Clarice, I'm gonna be breaking down her story in a very, I'd say, detailed way, or rather a very reasonable way, looking at things from every single angle. So let's just get into this video honestly. And I want you to picture this, or rather think about this. There are some people who appear in a YouTube video, then there are people who become the reason why you clicked on this video in the first place. And Clarice was one of those people. For millions of viewers who discovered the African village life content on YouTube, her face became just instantly recognizable. Why do I say this? If you just give her a cooking pot, a fire, just a few ingredients, she just turned the simplest village setting into something that most people around the world wanted to watch. They were intrigued by how natural she seemed, or how she just made the setting more, I want to say, more entertaining, or rather more authentic, that you just feel like, I want to watch this video, I'm interested in this video, I want to see what she's doing, I want to see how she's making these meals. And that's what I'm saying. But what I feel like what makes Clarice's story remarkable is not simply the fact that she got popular, it's genuinely how she did it. Picture this. There was no glamorous studio or a luxury kitchen with all electronic appliances or an army of assistants behind the scenes. There were days she was just like cooking outdoors under a very scorching sun, let's say African sun for flair. Yeah, she was making these meals outdoors under the sun, and actually there were days when rain actually came down, there was smoke, there was a fire, and there was basically just simply hard physical work, and she kept showing up again and again and again and again. She kept showing up, and eventually millions of people began to watch her. And today, when you think about African village life's most recognizable faces, it's it's simply impossible to leave out Clarice. If you know what I'm saying, if you've been following the content, it's genuinely impossible to leave out Clarice, because she's one of the most recognizable faces from the channel, if you ask me. And takes us to what I feel was a very interesting chapter in her stories. And what is this? Because now this woman Clarice, who became the face of the African Village Life channel, would eventually come to part ways with the channel, and you'd think after that she was going to disappear, but instead of disappearing, we see Clarice starting again from scratch. And I feel like this video is basically the story of Clarice, because I feel like she's a woman who went from cooking outdoors in very difficult conditions to becoming one of the biggest stars in the African village content. How do you feel about that? I know you're interested, so let's get into this video on a more serious or a more in-depth analysis. This is not an analysis, so now I just feel like a storyteller, and I want to put myself in like Clarice's shoes as much as I can, or rather put you in her shoes and see this story of just sheer hard work. I'm gonna say that, consistency, and we see how it works out for her in this video, so you stay tuned. Like I said, this is the story of Clarice, and I have to get into a little bit of before the stardom, because right now she's a big person on this internet, and it's shocking. It's I was gonna say mortifying, but it's not mortifying in that sense, but it's genuinely just outstanding. And I want to get into before the stardom, and before the subscribers, the millions of views, the recognition online. That was just simply a Clarice was doing what she knew best, and what was that? She was cooking, and she was good at it, especially making the traditional coastal dishes. There was just something different about watching her. If you were watching her then and now, you're gonna see how. No, you don't need to see how, because you've seen how. I don't know why I said that, but what I meant to say was, it didn't look like she was performing a character for the camera, honestly. She just looked so at home. The ingredients were familiar, the techniques were familiar. That's if you're African or Kenyan, for that matter. The ingredients were familiar, the techniques were familiar, the environment was familiar, and you could feel the authenticity through the screen, and that's not something you're going to see from everyone. And I feel like that played a major role in people just recognizing her and her skill. But it was not just for viewers, it wasn't just for learning about how to prepare certain dishes. It was about watching. I feel like for most of the people who have been watching her since back then and right now, it was it was about watching someone who just genuinely knew what she was doing, or rather someone who had her heart in what she was doing. And that was also another factor that drew more people to her content. But Clarice also had another like quality for the camera, a quality that the cameras love. It was presence. Why do I say presence? Because most people, not even some, I was going to say some people, but for most people, you're going to see them standing in front of a camera for 10 minutes and you get absolutely no impression. And others can, which is Clarice, because I'm saying you can, I hope I'm not one of those people, genuinely, because that would be heartbreaking. But like, most people just lack character. Like, they leave no impression. You just watch the video then. And some people can actually walk into the scene behind the camera or no, in front of the camera, and immediately they just become the person that people watch. And I feel like Clarice also had that quality. She was very expressive, she was very energetic, and which was the best part, she was comfortable and she was consistent. Like, I'm gonna say, she was very consistent, and that combination became a very incredible, like, powerful combination that also played a big role to where she is as a content creator right now. But she just had this impression. You could feel that she was expressive, she was energetic, and she was comfortable, and all that plus consistency, it's bound to work, and we see that working for her. So that, I feel like it's very calming to watch, or rather soothing. It's something you can just put on and just wind up your day with. Just, there's no, what do you say, not a lot is going on, but still a lot is going on, so it's very like calming or soothing. And yeah, if you get to watch them on a daily and videos are being dropped on a daily, why would you not watch? And that works out amazingly. And I'm gonna get to, because I've already told you the story before, now I'm gonna get to something which is, to me, it's also more significant, and it's the grind that nobody saw for Clarice. I feel like, let's just get into this for a second. And one of the easiest things to forget when you get successful in like this YouTube space is how much work you put into your videos, or rather into your art, before it gets the recognition that it deserves. Well, you might make an hour-long video and a viewer may just watch like the first 20 minutes, because at the end of the day, it's a cooking video. It's not going to be a quick 20-minute video. Like, we do have people making short cooking videos, and I have nothing against them, but like, I feel like when she made the hour-long videos, then you get immersed in the like whole experience. And a viewer might watch this, actually a viewer might watch this 20-minute cooking video, but behind the 20 minutes is a lot of preparation. Like, we have ingredients, firewood because it's the village space, cooking, cleaning, the setting up, the shooting, repeating of scenes, because obviously if you want to make a really good video and you don't like how it came out, the best next thing is just repeating the video and just doing it all over again for the next video and the next video and the next video. But for Clarice, I feel like most of this happened outdoors. There was no escape from the harsh weather, which is whether the sun is brutal and makes it hard to cook, or when the rain arrived. We don't see the work just magically disappearing or something like that. I feel like I might have said that word out of context, but when the rain arrived, this is what I'm gonna say, actually scrambling thoughts in my mind. But when the rain comes, we don't see the work just magically disappearing. And because we're using firewood, it's not all that easy, and when the smoke from the fire just filled the cooking pot, she still kept going. She did not stop, like, oh no, she kept going. And this is the part which makes her journey even more interesting. You know, fire came, no, not fire, smoke. Okay, I feel like most of us, we don't like being in tough situations, and at the point that you're cooking, the sun is so hot, the smoke from the fire is in your face, because that's obviously very uncomfortable. And Clarice worked through all that, and that's impressive. It doesn't matter what anyone says, because to me, I feel like that's impressive. And at the end of the day, the glamorous parts came later, and first came the grind. Obviously, the grind is a must. We have to keep grinding, and she did that, and she did not stop, and she just kept doing it. And consistency matters again, because the audience, they don't become emotionally attached to someone after watching one video. It doesn't work like that. They have to see you on the screen more often, but they become attached after like seeing this person over and over and over again. Now you become familiar, and Clarice became familiar, and we do know with familiarity we get affection, or for her, the familiarity eventually became affection. And I want to like go away from what I was saying for a second and again appreciate the grind, because like I said, it's not gonna be glamorous when you're starting off, and she did not let that put her down or discourage her. She just kept doing what she was doing, and she kept grinding, and eventually people knew her, people recognized her, people became familiar with her, people came back to watch her videos, and that's impressive. That's impressive, and it's a lot of this heart put into the art. I feel like a rapper, art put into the heart. What did I say? I forgot. Anyway, moving on. I was talking about the grind, but let's get to when the viewers started falling in love with Clarice. And at this point, something began happening that every creator just dreams about. And what is that? People were not just watching the videos, people were watching Clarice. You see how that feels? They're not just watching for the cooking videos. Obviously they are, but at this point now they're watching to Clarice. They're watching because of Clarice. They are watching Clarice, and they began recognizing her. They began actually anticipating her appearance, and they're like, now they notice the way she cooked, the way she acted and reacted, the way she interacted with people around her, and slowly Clarice just started feeling like another person. She stopped feeling like another person who's just appearing on the channel, and at this point now she started to slowly become the face of this channel. Why? Viewers want to see her, viewers are curious what she's gonna make, viewers want to see her, and that was basically, or rather, her breakthrough moment. And with this becoming her breakthrough moment, she just stopped being another person appearing in a village cooking video, and at this point she just became a personality. You know what a personality is? A personality is people want to see you, they watch you, they're watching you, they want to see what you're doing, what you're saying, how you're acting, how you're moving. And she got to that point. I would actually say at that point she was a star. And at this point it's where we see a difference between a successful video and a successful personality. Yeah, it becomes very obvious, because why? Your recipe can be copied, a cooking location can be copied by other creators, a camera angle can be copied at this point, but personality is basically so much harder to recreate or reproduce. And Clarice had something that you couldn't add through editing, because obviously you're going to edit your video, but I feel like she had presence. Like I said, you could feel her presence, and the audience responded to this. And this is where the African village life takes off. This is where it takes off. Why do I say this? Because with this, it just came the explosion. Like, this is where the channel basically exploded, or rather her as a personality, as a person, or as a personality in this specific niche or content or something like that. But this is where the African village life just takes off. So why do I say this is where African village life takes off? I remembered I like to ask myself questions, then answer. That way give this video more context. Now I'm going to get back to my question. Why do I say this is where the African village life took off? Because the African village life began to attract enormous attention on YouTube. This channel was created in 2023, and it just grew rapidly to one of the biggest African village content channels on the platform, which is YouTube, obviously. And public channel analysis, you can see those from a site called Social Blade, if I'm not wrong. But what I was saying is the public channel analysis show the channel that with more than it's 500,000 subscribers and hundreds, millions, couple millions of views, and the center of many of these videos was Clarice. You see where I'm going with this? You see where I'm going with this? This channel is now a big channel. It's a sensation. People are watching it. Millions of views, 100,000 of subscribers. And at this point, Clarice is the face of these videos, or rather most of them. Like, when you think African village life, I'm sure most people who have been watching from them, you would think Clarice. Breakthrough moment, like I said. At this point now, Clarice becomes a person who's no longer recording for a small audience, because at this point now she has a global audience. People from multiple countries around the world were watching her, and people who had never visited like coastal Kenya were suddenly watching traditional foods being prepared over like a fire with firewood. And it's impressive actually. Like, when you look at the journey, it's very impressive. And people who had grown up around like similar cooking were reconnecting with something which felt familiar, because if you've been in this space, you know these things. It's just you're reconnecting with something that's familiar. You have seen this happening, and you're like, oh wow, yeah. And people who had never appreciated the village niche or the village content or just traditional village life generally, they were getting a glimpse into a different life, and that was the magic. Because someone who's, I don't mean to sound daft, but someone who's from, say, Canada, let's use Canada for context, yeah, they don't feel familiar when they're watching a video of a meal being prepared outdoors under the sun with firewood and actual fire. So that was the magic in the videos. People who didn't know that type of lifestyle existed or didn't appreciate it were now getting a glimpse of another way of life, and that, I feel, that was the magic. And Clarice became one of the biggest reasons why these viewers kept showing up to the channel, watching the videos, coming back, subscribing, and this is where she ultimately becomes the face of this channel. Yeah, I'm so excited making this video. Let's go in. When I say we see Clarice becoming the face of this channel, what I mean is at this point something important, or rather something significant, had happened. Clarice was no longer a cast member in the channel. She was, or rather she had become the face of this African Village Life channel. And there was a huge difference between those two by then, because a channel can have a name. Walk with me, pay attention. A channel can have a name, a channel can have a logo, and a channel can have cameras, editors, producers, but viewers connect with people. They connect emotionally with people, or rather they become familiar with people. And when, say, how do I say this, when they see a familiar face repeatedly, that person becomes the human identity of this channel. And for most viewers, or rather for all those viewers, this person was Clarice, and she was the woman who they watched cooking. She was the woman who they watched working. She was the woman who they watched through the scorching sun and the rain, the heat and the cold. And viewers had also watched her journey repeatedly. I'm saying she's a familiar face. I'm calling her the face of the channel at this point because most videos have her featured. She is in most videos. And ultimately, because obviously, just for context, if you see me making this video, you automatically assume this is my channel. Hold that thought, we're gonna get to that. And because a lot of people are watching her journey, blah blah blah, it's human nature to, or rather I do believe it's human nature, and these people got invested in her life. And this is why her story is it's not simply a story about YouTube numbers. It's more of connection. It's a story of connection. Why do I say this once again? Because eventually we do see her moving from just an outdoor kitchen, cooking outside, just doing her thing, to a better life. Yeah, you might ask yourself, what do I mean from an outdoor kitchen to a better life? And lucky for you, that's exactly what I want to get into. And there was another transformation. Obviously this channel was growing, the audience was growing, and her circumstances began changing too. Because if you were watching her, think back to the early days. If you're not familiar with her, like I said in this video, she was working in an outdoor kitchen, literally open skies, smoke, firewood, scorching heat, rain. And when you compare that with a later image of her life, you see her in a better or a more modern home, if I might. You see her in better surroundings, better conditions, and my whole point is we do see visible improvement in her standard of living. When I say visible improvement in her standard of living, this is because the audience at this point, they're not simply watching her make traditional dishes. They were watching someone work her way towards something better in all essence, if you might. And at this point, every video just became another chapter, or a new chapter for Clarice. And for people who had watched her from way back, from basically the beginning, they were seeing Clarice's circumstances improve. And most must have felt like it was personal to them. It had to have felt almost personal because they had seen the hard days and now they were seeing the results. I feel like I'm gonna get into a side note real quick. When people watch you just level up, do your thing, and they see the results, they're gonna appreciate it for you. I believe it's just part and parcel of being human. You're bound to appreciate, especially if you've seen grass to grace type of thing. And when everything changes for Clarice, we obviously expect the audience, or just people who loved her as a character in the channel, or rather the face, being happy for her. And overall, before I get back to my video, because I took a quick side note, it's actually nice to see an African woman get everything that she deserves just off hard work and just being honest to themselves, or rather true. And that is why I go back to my video, so I don't side quest too hard. I'm gonna get to the part which feels like, I was gonna call it a hurdle, but is it really a hurdle if you level up after that? Or rather, like I said, people were saying level up, and this is where now everything changes. And I do believe every great story has a turning point, and for Clarice, her story had one too. And at some point in the relationship between Clarice and the people behind the channel African Village Life, something broke down, or rather the partnership just came to an end, and we see Clarice getting fired from the channel. And for viewers who had assumed, or they were just for viewers who are accustomed to seeing her on the channel, you're used to seeing her, she's a familiar face. When you click on a video, you expect to see her on the video. They were hit by a major shock, because by then Clarice was not just another person appearing in the video. Like I said, for many people, she was the face that most people associated with African Village Life. So naturally, it's curiosity. Most people were like curious, and they wanted to know what happened, why was Clarice fired, what went wrong behind the scenes, all these questions. And this is where we see Linet and Kush publicly addressing the questions, or rather the situation or the issue. And specifically, they made a video, and the title was very direct, and it was posted on the channel. It was like, why we fired Clarice, in their words, or rather this is the title. The title was why we fired Clarice. And if you how do I say this, if you want to hear Linet and Kush explain their side of the story and the reasons they gave for the decision, I feel like this episode it's a whole video, and it's on their channel. So if you're invested or you've not seen it before, you can watch the video on their channel. And for this video, we're not going to relitigate every detail of this dispute, because for me, the biggest story is what happened next. And for Clarice, I do believe this was just a hurdle that she overcame bravely. So this is where I feel like for Clarice, it's either stamina or just, I'm not finding the perfect word, but Clarice refuses to disappear. She genuinely refuses to disappear, because once she's not in the African Village Life channel as a main character, you might ask yourself, now what's next for Clarice? What happens to Clarice? And this is where it gets even more interesting. I feel like this story is too interesting. And Clarice didn't just disappear. She didn't walk away from YouTube because of that, and she didn't abandon this audience that she spent years of her life building. And instead, we see her doing a very interesting thing, or rather her taking a very bold move, and she started again. And she started with her husband James, and they launched a new channel. If I could add sound effects, I would have like, yeah, something like that. But yeah, she started again with a new channel, Clarice African Life, and suddenly now the question changes again, because like I said, the audience is now invested in not just her videos but also her life. And suddenly the question Loki changes from what happened to Clarice, and the story, or rather question, becomes, can Clarice really build something of her own? Because now she's starting off a new channel. And Loki, before I go, too many opinions coming from me, but I do feel like maybe it was a little bit easier because she had been in the YouTube space. She generally knew what to do, and still the question remains, can Clarice build something of her own? And I feel like that's a very different challenge. Starting a YouTube channel from zero is very, very difficult. Not even on a light note, it is very difficult. And starting when millions of people already know you or your face is different. Yeah, because like I said, subscribe to my channel so you can recognize my face in other videos. But like what I'm saying was, starting a channel from scratch where nobody knows you, you're just trying to work your way around this YouTube space, is very different from someone who already has the recognition from a lot of people. Most people know her, and it's very different. And Clarice had something most of us new creators spend years trying to build, or rather obtain, and that's recognition. In this space, recognition really matters, and for her, people knew her, and they knew what she cooked, they knew her personality, they knew her story, and most people were basically just ready to flow with the next chapter, see where she goes, and all of that. I'm gonna get to where I find this story to be particularly fascinating. Because Clarice African Life didn't simply become another small channel lost among millions of creators, honestly. It's obtained or drew or just attracted significant attention. And now we see the videos pulling strong view counts, like damn. And subscribers are coming in, and the audience that had initially become familiar with Clarice in through the beginning of African Village Life, they're now finding her again. Yeah, like I said, she became a familiar face. Now they're finding her again, her new channel, and this tells us something rather important about personal branding. Think about it, personal branding, because people don't always pledge their loyalty to a logo. Sometimes they just remain loyal to a person. Think about it. People, I want to say it again so you think about it. People don't always remain loyal to a logo, because sometimes people remain loyal to a person. Yeah. Fuck. Like I was saying about personal branding, this is what Clarice has spent years, literally years. She spent years on personal branding in regards to the videos she was making, her appearing on the African Village Life channel, and the people remembered. They remembered the woman they trusted. They remember the woman they love. They remember the woman they enjoy watching cook. They remembered the woman from the outdoor videos and the fire and all that. And now she had a platform, and most of the viewers were watching and just waiting out to see what she does, how she moves, what this channel is going to be about, how, people had all of these questions. Most people were curious to see what she's going to do, and I feel like I want to get to the real meaning of this woman's success, or rather Clarice. You might get me wrong. And there's a bigger lesson hidden in this whole journey. If you've not gotten the bigger picture of what I'm talking about, I'm gonna break it down for you. And that's basically that you can build a successful channel, you can build a successful brand, but if you're a creator, you should be building something that belongs to you. And what's that? I'm gonna say personality for one, reputation for two, and a relationship with your viewers. What else? I feel like there's more to just those three that I've said, because I've said personality, your reputation, your relationship with your viewers, and your ability to make people care about what you do or what you're doing in a specific point or a video. And Clarice is okay, I feel like before I get to Clarice, those three things, because every creator should be working on that. Clarice aside for a second. Your personality, because your personality shows, like for me, I'm gonna say I'm making a talking video, and not even a little bit, you should be able to see my personality. And once I get my footing in this YouTube space, I would work on my reputation. I don't want my name to be associated, or rather my channel's name to be associated with things that are, and a relationship with your viewers. And Clarice was just lucky because she had built all of those, and outstanding job. Why? Question marks again. Because these things, they can travel with you, because we see these people going back to her new channel and subscribing and giving her all the views, and those things travel with her. And Clarice is just perhaps one of the clearest examples of that. When you think back to it, she was, okay, let's say this, yes, she was introduced to millions of people through the African Village Life channel. But after leaving the channel, she just didn't become irrelevant, because now you're not in that channel. Because I feel like for most characters, you would have been irrelevant after that, or rather, people wouldn't be too invested in what you're doing. And I'm struggling to find this word. It was refreshing to see, because worse things could have happened. Thank God they did not. But after leaving the channel, she did not become irrelevant. Instead, she carried her audience and people who recognized with her. And she began building again. And that's not easy. That's why I said it takes courage and confidence. In all honesty, it just takes courage and confidence. And at the end of the day, we see it working out. So that's a story or a testament of just courage and outright confidence. And impressive. Hold that thought. I have a question. You might ask yourself, what actually made Clarice a star, or why did she become a star? Because at the end of the day, it's not something you see happening every day, right? So you ask yourself, why did people love Clarice? And like I said, it was not simply because of the good food she made, which is honestly a plus if you ask me. But there are thousands of people who can cook. I can cook, you can cook, everyone can cook. But it was wasn't simply, also it was not simply because she appeared in a beautiful village surrounding or setting. You know, most people might think, oh, so if I make a video in a traditional or village setting, then I don't also think it was because of that, because there are also countless channels doing that. And for me, I feel like for Clarice, it was the contribution, the hard work, the consistency, the authenticity, and the star power. I feel like Clarice had the ability to make viewers feel like they knew her, and that is very rare. Like, you might watch me, you might watch a 20-minute video of me, you might watch a 10-minute video of me, but for sure you're not gonna be like, you know me, you're just gonna like my video, maybe what I'm saying. And she had that star power. People felt like she knew her, and that's rare, because you can teach someone how to cook. It's not that hard. You can teach someone how to edit a video. It's also not that hard. And you can also teach a person how to operate a camera. That's also not that hard. But you can't simply teach a person to have that natural connection with an audience. And lucky for Clarice, she just had that. And she proved it over many years of just showing up. And I'm gonna get to how things stand out from Clarice of African Village Life to Clarice African Life. How exciting is that? When I say Clarice African Life, that is very recent. That is her channel. She posts there regularly, so we are no longer talking in past tense, we're now in active tense. And at this point, her story has just entered another chapter. And we see this woman that many viewers discovered through African Village Life now building her own identity through Clarice African Life, and obviously with her husband James. And the numbers suggest that most of these viewers have not forgotten her. And in fact, it's the continued interest that is shocking, because it just attests to the powerful connection that she made with her viewers, or you know, that type of thing. But like, I feel like she might have left one channel, but that didn't literally mean that she left the hearts of the many people that were watching her. And that perhaps is her greatest achievement, because I do believe she is sensational. She's gonna go places, and we see that happening right before our eyes, and it's exciting to watch. I also do genuinely feel like her journey is just bigger than a YouTube channel, because in my own words, I would put it as it is a story of a woman who has walked through difficult conditions. She kept showing up, she kept cooking, she kept entertaining, and eventually became a star. And she genuinely started in an outdoor kitchen. She cooked under the scorching sun, she walked through the rain, and she became familiar to millions. And along the way, her own life changed, and then came the splits. She was fired from African Village Life, but I feel like instead of her letting that chapter define her as a person, Clarice opens another channel, a new beginning, another growing audience. And maybe that's the bigger lesson from her story. A channel can give you an audience. Think about it. A channel might give you an audience, and a brand might give you a platform. Think about it. But when people just genuinely connect with you, they can take you, or just rather they can follow you wherever you go. And for millions of viewers, Clarice was not simply a lady who appeared in African Village videos. She was the face of them, and that's refreshing to see. And this is where I sort of end my video. And what do you think about Clarice's journey? How do you think you would work out in the same set of events? And subscribe to my video if I didn't say that like 10 million times before. And thank you for watching. I will be dropping more videos, so if you've not subscribed, just make sure you subscribe to my channel. Comment down below about what you think. Like this video, share to sisters, brothers, cousins, family, share my video. And thank you so much for watching. See you in my next video.